Okay, if you haven't seen AfterBuzz TV's video about this episode or the after show with Pav, I highly recommend you watch one or both of those. You should especially check out the after show with Pav because she gives us a sneak peek as to what's going to be happening in the Redemption Island arena next week, and it is not just simply next time on Survivor, okay? We actually get a couple of highlights. Ooh, I'm so looking forward to that. Anyway, so if we're looking at the brief synopsis of this episode, it's basically a repeat of the previous episode. Colton goes off again. Another loved one leaves on Redemption Island. Candace wins. The loved ones get clobbered by the returnees and Rupert's wife. Culpepper comes up with another ingenious move to take advantage of the big twists of this season. He proposes it to his alliance executes it, but like with the previous episodes, he loses a little more trust in his tribe. And he's going to have more people giving him the finger. Although, of course, we all know that Candace does give him the finger, justifiably so. Anyways. Now that we've got the brief synopsis out of the way, let's talk about almost all this stuff in detail. Pardon me, I was waiting for that. Anyway, first off, we have Colton quitting the game. Well, first of all, this is where I learned a lot from the AfterBuzz thing. Colton explains that basically he shot himself in the foot this season, but it's not him creating chaos, actually. The only chaos he created was because he talked to Tina, stating that they need to get rid of Aris, because he learned that Aris was making an alliance with everybody, but Tina told Aris, and then chaos erupted after that. So you can't argue he created it, but, unlike what the episode was telling us, it wasn't intentional. And also, the other reason he was like that is because, actually, there was another big impact that Candace and John being added to the season had. Probst has already hinted at this, but I'll tell it again to you guys anyway. Originally, Blood vs. Water would have actually been a lot closer to that theme. The blood being, it actually would have been one tribe comprised of couples that were actually related to each other. Jervis, Tina, Laura, RC, I don't know who the other couple would have been, versus couples that, were just together. Kat and Hayden, Colton. Oh, I know who the other couple was. Aris! Duh! So you could just fill in the gaps there. So it actually would have been couples versus other couples. Interesting, huh? So that would have made this season totally different. Colton would have been with Caleb, and he would feel that he wouldn't have erupted like he did. So it was very interesting to know that. And it made me feel a little bit more for Colton, because I didn't make a video about this because I hadn't created the channel yet, but back in One World, I didn't like Colton, but when he got pulled out, I felt sorry for him. That was my primary emotion. I was glad that he was gone, but that came after the sorry. Because I didn't want him to go like that. I wanted him to get voted out. Because, like, if Culpepper, for instance, was to just suddenly get pulled, I'd feel sorry for him. But if he gets voted out, I'm not going to feel sorry for him in the slightest. That's just a bit of comparison. So it was really good to get all that behind-the-scenes info with Colton. And in the end, while I don't think he should have come back, I do feel sorry for him, and I do agree with what John from Cases said in Rob Sesternino's Big Lawn interview with him. Outside of the game, there's definitely hope for Colton. In this game, nah, there's nothing for him. He really should not have come out. And I think everyone is correct in stating that he actually did help Caleb, because really Caleb doesn't have a target on him, albeit he didn't get a single confessional for this episode. 1, because Probst is totally against Colton, and 2, well, we just haven't gotten that much from everybody because there's a lot to feature. It's just like what I was saying about HVV. If we wanted to get a good opinion about the season, we actually really need double-length episodes. Or we could just do a Survivor Israeli where it's a much longer season, but of course then everyone's worried about the health effects. Who gives about that? That's a pointless rant. Oh, and one last thing about Colton. Do I think he quit twice? No. I believe him. I just see that as Probst going after him, because, okay, The big thing people argue has been the downfall of the show ever since One World started and onward is bad casting. I personally don't think that's the problem. If I had to nominate the biggest problem with the show since One World it's Jeff. He's been super arrogant the past couple of seasons. He's no longer funny in his interactions with the cast. He's been pretty dang hurtful. He's constantly dodging Dalton Ross's questions, and he's stating that he likes the format of the reunion show when really it's just a big slap in the face to half the cast now, if not more, and he's talking about eliminating the last rites, which is an even bigger slap in the face to all these contestants, because the last rites helps us remember these people, bond with them, get people to have a good retrospective on what they did in the game. So, yeah, Jeff. Oh, man. Okay. So now we can finally move on beyond Colton, and like with everybody, I've wasted tons of time talking about him. The Redemption Island duel, I knew Candace was going to win, and Rachel got eliminated. Well, since we really didn't get any camera time with him, whereas Marissa, even before she was voted out, we got a little camera time with her, it was to be expected. So I did feel sorry for Rachel, because I did feel like that there was something to her, but we just didn't get to see it because there's so many big characters this season. It's a bummer. So that's that. Candace gives the clue to her husband, and unlike the first time, I was actually hoping that she wouldn't because it put a target on him. So then John does try to do the right thing and tell his alliance about it, but he basically pulls a Matt from Redemption Island. He tells only the boss of the alliance, and he does a piss-poor job telling the boss of the alliance. So, basically John dug his own grave, but of course he didn't realize it. So then we've got the challenge. The returnees kick the loved ones' butts again. And the thing that's really interesting about the season is that I honestly cannot decide which tribe I want to see win immunity, because I get good results either way. So, that's what I find really interesting about this season. Okay, so that's really all I can discuss about the immunity challenge. Oh, actually, let's talk about the Aris vs. Vetus fight real fast. Why would Aris do that? Well, think about this, okay? Vetus was, on his knees, he had his hands on the bag, but he was all tense. In a position like that, you can't really move the person. I mean, like, you can try, but you have to waste a lot of time focusing on a small area of that person's body, and Vetus could have done all kinds of things to Aris. Aris realized that in a position like that, technically, all they're going to do is just waste strength on each other. So he's like, let's start over and try and make this a fair fight to where we don't kill each other. Vetus goes off, but Aris is able to recover and clobber him. So I don't really mind that choice, and I do find it pretty interesting that, he was able to just take it with good humor. But how everyone's commenting that they kind of hated going against a family member. Well, it's tough because, okay, so I've gotten annoyed at a couple of my family members, my father and my brother, and then there's been a couple of times where I, playfully slap them on the back, and then there's been a couple of times where I've been angry with them and I try and slap themselves in the face. But as my hand gets closer to them, I find the strength in my arm lessen. So it's like that. It's just hard to go against someone from your own family like that. I can definitely identify with that. Going back to the loved one's camp, Culpepper realizes with good reason, even though I do like John, that John isn't being that great of a help to the Alliance, and that he's just following everything that they're saying, and he isn't really communicating the idol that well to them, so they decide to blindside him. But Vetus and Caleb strongly consider blindsiding him. Going into Tribal, I could tell that there was no way Sierra was going, so the question was it be John or Brad? Something told me it was John because rarely ever in a situation like the one Culpepper is in, where his name gets mentioned to be blindsided, it doesn't happen the first time. Usually it happens the second or third time. So John going, that sucked, but on the plus side, everyone knows that it's Culpepper trying to campaign for them, and Vides is gradually fitting him to where all the heat's on him. So Brad's like, well, I'm trying to pass it off as I'm not the kingpin of this tribe, well, I am. And I'm like, yeah, but everyone will agree with you. Every bit of the heat for every past castaway voted out except for Rupert's wife is completely on you. Okay? You're just digging yourself a grave with each episode. It's gonna come crumbling on you eventually, dude. Madness. Okay, so that pretty much sums it up. So the Redemption Island duel next week. It's the challenge from One World where the contestants have to take bags of puzzle pieces and then rope it under and over the planks, but they can't fall off the planks. Then once they're on the other side, throw the bags across the finish line, throw themselves over the finish line, and assemble a puzzle. So, obviously, one of the Candace and John pairing is going to survive. The big question is, what is Marissa going to do? Is she going to be eliminated, or is she going to come first? Because one of those two options is most likely going to happen, because, I don't know, just the way the show works, something tells me Marissa wouldn't come in second. It's either she's going to come first, and then John or Candace are going to have to decide which one of them doesn't stay, or they're both going to beat her. I personally hope that they both beat her because I really love the pairing between them, even though I don't really mind Marissa, and I felt extremely sorry for her when she got booted. But I think realistically, the more likely scenario is Marissa beats them both, and then John basically gives up and allows his wife to continue. On the Returnees tribe, well, there's not much I can say because they haven't been to tribal council. Aris is just going to keep doing what he's doing with everybody. Tyson is going to do what he can with his shoulder because it's not threatening or anything like that. They just can't really fix it, which I find kind of strange because wasn't Ramona able to just pop Steph's shoulder back in? Well, then again, I think in that one, it really was out, whereas for Tyson, it's only partially out. I don't know. And then as for the loved ones, well, the big question is, are they going to blindside Culpepper or not? Something tells me that the next time they will, unless he finds the idol. And I'm so hoping that happens, because when that guy gets sent to Redemption I, oh man, I'm so waiting for Cohen to catch up to that guy. So I'm really liking this season. Let's see what happens.